So hi, welcome to Ranker Space. So today we are up with another video on material costing, which is one of the most elementary topics in costing. So the first thing that we have to understand is the object, why we are computing material costing. I wanted to visualize a house. You're going in for construction of a house. Okay. So if you're constructing a house, definitely you will need material inputs for it. Say for example, cement, bricks, then you need iron rods and all of that. So these are material inputs that are required to construct that house, isn't it? So what in material costing you'll do is you will try to find out the value of those material inputs that are used in that house for the construction, okay, of that house. The second thing I wanted to visualize is a cost sheet. If you take a cost sheet for that matter, the first item that you find on the cost sheet is your direct material. Then you have the direct labor, direct expense. All of this put together, you get the prime cost, and after that, you have the procedure, right? So the first elementary thing that you find on the cost sheet is your direct material cost. So this direct material cost is the elementary cost that you have to compute, right? In respect of the material inputs that you are using. So in order to compute the cost of that material inputs, that is bricks, cement, as we saw an example, material costing is very useful. Okay, so this material costing is comprehensively covered into 7 different types of topics. Okay, so each of these subtopics deals with different concepts and different formulas. Okay, so if you're having a comprehensive view about all of these subtopics, I think it is very much important, and it will aid you in problem solving also. Okay, so please pay close attention. So the first topic that we're going to be seeing is the stock levels. So when I talk about the stock levels, I wanted to visualize one thing in your mind. Okay, I wanted to visualize one thing in your mind. That is nothing but a bin. You have a rice bin in your house, right? Every one of us as households, we'll have a rice bin at home where we store rice for household purpose, right? You have huge bins, right? So let's visualize that. Okay, you have a big bin. Okay, you have this big bin in your house. What happens in the beginning of the month? Your dad or mom gets salary. They fill the bin with rice, right? And after which, what happens as the month proceeds by, depending upon the need or depending upon the need of the household, what they will do, they will draw rice out of the bin, right? That is how the mechanism works. So when you put rice into the bin, the quantity increases. When you draw rice out of the bin, the quantity decreases. That is how the mechanism works. So that is what we are going to study in stock levels. Okay, very elementary, very concept related. Okay. Say the first thing that we're going to be saying is minimum level. So what is a minimum level, guys? Minimum level is the minimum amount of stock that you should definitely have in the bin. Okay, minimum. Okay. After that, average level is nothing but average level is slightly above your minimum level. Okay, average on an average, this much of quantity I'll always have in the bin. That is average level. What is a maximum level? Maximum level is the full bin. The full bin, the maximum capacity of this bin itself is this much only. This much only the bin can hold. Okay. Then the danger level. Danger level is the barest minimum. Minimum, barest minimum is your danger level. So what is the danger level? If in case this danger level doesn't exist, the bin would be empty. Okay, that is the danger level. Then you have the optimum stock level that we'll discuss it later. That is in case of these manufacturing, big manufacturing units are there, right? Like cars, all of those. So we'll discuss that later. Reorder level. So what is reorder level? Reorder level is the level at which, say for example, Hindustan Unilever is manufacturing one of its products. Name some of the products of Hindustan Unilever. They have Cleaning Plus, they have Sunsilk, they have Pond's, etc. etc. So, for example, we'll take Pond's. For example, they're constructing Pond's cream. So, for the construction of Pond's cream, what happens is that they are using a certain raw material, and what happens is that the bin that they store this raw material, it has they will mark and keep. Okay, they'll mark and keep. So this is the reorder level. So when the quantity of that material reaches that point that they have marked as reorder level, that point they will place an order. that point they will place an order for quantity of raw material from their suppliers. Okay, so they will mark and keep, if the quantity reaches this level, we will go on for ordering, we will place an order with the supplier. So that quantity is called as a reorder level. Okay, so this is the bin wise mechanism. So just like households, manufacturing units also use the same thing. Okay, so why it is very very important for us to have a good command or good understanding about the stock levels is that in a manufacturing unit, materials are very 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 elementary. If there is shortage of material, what happens, the production will be affected, right? Your production process will be affected and you will not be able to meet your timelines, you will not be able to supply the orders on time. So that is why we have to have a very good understanding about the stock levels. So the first stock level is your minimum level. So the first formula that we have to remember is minimum levels formula. So minimum level, what I told, minimum level is the bare minimum level, like which is above your danger level, below your average level. So minimum level formula is nothing but reorder level minus average consumption into average lead time. What is reorder level? Into average minus average consumption into average lead time. Okay, so the next formula that we're going to be seeing is average level formula. Average level is maximum level minimum level divided by 2. That formula you can use, or you can use another formula which is reorder quantity by 2 into your minimum level. Reorder quantity by 2 into minimum level. Then the next one is maximum level. So what is maximum level? Reorder quantity plus reorder level minus minimum consumption into minimum lead time. So there is two things, reorder level plus reorder quantity minus, because here plus, right, there minus. Okay, reorder level plus reorder quantity plus reorder level plus reorder quantity minus minimum consumption into minimum lead time. Okay, so that is one thing that you should remember. Then the next one is danger level. So what is a danger level? Danger level is the bare minimum. I told, right, barest minimum. If it is not there, the pin would be empty. So this is the formula for that. So average consumption into lead time for emergency purchases. Okay, average consumption into lead time for emergency purchases, or you can use another formula, minimum consumption into minimum lead time. Okay, so these are the two formulas that you can use. Then the next one is optimum stock levels. Optimum stock levels, we'll deal with it later. Then after that, reorder level. Reorder level is what is the formula for it? Maximum consumption and maximum lead time. That is the formula of it. So having read all of these formulas, you would often come across this term called lead time, average consumption into average lead time. So what is lead time? So lead time is nothing but it is the, just a second, it is the time lag between, say for example, you place the order today 1/1/2020, you place an order. Okay, you're placing an order for some raw material, you're placing an order, and on 15 to 20 only you get the order delivered, you get the delivery of the particular order. So the time from the date of ordering till the time the order gets delivered, the time between these two dates is called as your lead time. Okay, the time between these two dates is called as lead time. In order to relate better, you can imagine Amazon. You place an order today, itself he brings the product and gives it in your hand. No, right? You have to wait for 4 5 to 6 days and then the product gets delivered. So that is the lead time. Okay, so this is the lead time concept. Okay, guys, so the next thing that we're going to be seeing is about the ratio analysis. Okay, so ratio analysis, in ratio analysis, we have two different types of topics. Okay, inventory turnover ratio and the number of days average inventory can be held. Your average inventory on an average, how many days it can be held, that we can find out. So there are two things under ratio analysis. First is inventory turnover ratio. Second is average number of days the average inventory can be held. Okay, so the first formula that we will see is inventory turnover ratio. When you're looking at inventory turnover ratio, what is the formula? Cost of stock of raw materials consumed divided by average stock of raw materials. Okay, so say for example you had like 10 cement, okay, five cement bags. Okay, you had five cement bags. Okay, so out of which you have consumed three cement bags you have consumed. Okay, so this formula is it is constituted in such a way that first up, that is the numerator, you have to put the cost of raw materials that is consumed, that is the cost of these three bags of cement you have to write. So cost of raw materials consumed divided by the average stock of raw material. Average stock of raw material is, here I have given five cements. In a question they will give it differently, like opening plus closing divided by 2, likewise. Okay, so what is the formula? Cost of raw materials consumed divided by the average stock of raw materials. That is how the formula is designed. Understood? The next thing that we'll be seeing is about the number of days average inventory can be held. Okay, so the formula is 365 days divided by inventory turnover ratio. Okay, very simple and easy to remember. So these many days only your average inventory can be held. Out of 365 days, how many days your average inventory can be held? We can find out using the following formula. Right? Understood? The next thing that we're going to be seeing is ABC analysis. As all of you know that ABC analysis is nothing but ABC costing is different from ABC analysis. Say for example, uh, like you buy a diamond ring today and you buy oranges. You buy oranges today. So can you say that the diamond and oranges are of same value and same worth? Definitely no, right? So, as this particular concept states that this ABC analysis is based on three different levels: high, medium, low. Okay, high, medium, low. High is like, say for example, diamond ring you buy 20,000 diamond rings and keep. No, you buy just one or two diamond ring, because it is very costly. It is high in value but low in quantity, right? It is high in value. What guys? It is high in value but low in quantity, isn't it? That is what they mean by 70% value will be there, 10% only quantity will be there, right? So that is how it is designed. Then the next one, medium importance. It is of medium importance. Okay, so what is 2020? That is value as well as quantity will more or less be equal, so that is why 2020. Low, very low value. Okay, very low value. If me see, it is of oranges. You will buy only one orange and keep it at home. No, you will buy 20, 30, or depending upon your needs, you will buy 20, 30, or 10, right? You won't buy one orange and keep at home, just like your diamond rings. So likewise, your quantity will be more in the case of low value. Okay, quantity will be high, but value will be less, not as costly or not as valuable as a diamond ring, right? So that is what they are telling here. So high, medium, low. So high means high in value, low in quantity. That is one diamond ring only you can buy. Value and quantity will be same in the case of medium. And low, barest minimum, low in this sense. Quantity will be high but value will be low. Okay, quantity will be high, value will be low. That is 10 oranges you will buy, 20 orange you will buy, but value will be low. It will be 50 rupees, 100 rupees. Diamond ring will be 1 lakh rupees, right? So that is how you have to compare in the case of ABC analysis. Okay, you have to rank it, you have to rank the material. That is how it goes by. Then after that, the next thing that we're going to be reading is about EOQ. So when you're talking about EOQ, as I already stated, EOQ is economic ordering quantity. So which is also known as your reorder level. I'm sorry, reorder quantity. Right, reorder quantity. We saw it right in the in this particular formula you would have seen. Yeah. Look at this average level formula, guys. Look at this average level formula. You will be able to find out reorder quantity. So this reorder quantity is also called as your EOQ. It is also known as your EOQ. Okay. So in this EOQ, what is the formula? So the formula is, so basically what is EOQ? EOQ is nothing but it is the terminology expansion is economic ordering quantity. So in this particular quantity, if you reorder, it is of greater value. Say for example, I'll give you a beautiful example. Okay, say for example, you are going in for you are having a factory. You're having a factory, okay? You're having a factory, and in that factory, what you decide is usually what you do is you are buying 16,000 units of raw material. Say, for example, 16,000 units of cement bags you are buying, okay? Which is you required for per annum basis. That is for a whole year, you need 16,000 cements bags. So what you do, one shot at a point, what you do, you purchase all those 16,000 units and purchase it and keep it in your factory. What you're doing, you're purchasing 16,000 units one shot for a whole year and keeping in the factory. Okay, so what happens in this case? Your carrying cost will increase. There are two different types of cost in EOQ. You have ordering cost, you have a carrying cost. Okay, so in this particular case, what happens? Your carrying cost or holding cost. What is carrying cost, holding cost, ma'am? Carrying cost, holding cost means in order to maintain this material. See, material in the sense it is highly prone to deterioration, likewise right, obsolescence, various other things, risk is there because you are stocking a stock for a whole year, not even for a 1 month consumption. You are storing it for per annum consumption. So much of stock you're buying and keeping in the factory. Say for example, you're buying 10,000 apples and keeping for a whole year, you're buying and keeping in the fridge. Is it even possible? It is prone to deterioration, right? So that is what, so the carrying cost, so in order to maintain this material, the carrying cost that the factory should incur will be very 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 high, isn't it? It will be very very high, right? And the buying cost will be comparatively low, maybe because you're buying it in a big lot. You're buying 16,000 units. Because of that, what your supplier is telling, I'll give you at 5% discount. 5%, 10% discount you will get. Okay, so your buying cost, your ordering cost as such will be low, right? So and say for example, let's take another example. Are you clear about this example? First, what we are doing, we are trying to buy 16,000 units per annum. For per annum, for a whole year's consumption, are buying and stocking it now itself in the factory. What happens in this case? Because of this 16,000 units purchase, the factory's carrying cost, that is in order to maintain this, that apple story I told, no, 10,000 apples you're buying and keeping in the fridge for a whole year. You're telling, your mom is asking, why you bought 10,000 apples? You're telling, whole year, mummy, I want now it's all I'm buying and keeping, like that you're telling. Because you're buying that 10,000 apples, the shopkeeper idiot also is giving you 1,000 rupees discount. Okay, so in this case what happens, you will put the fridge at 24 by 7 in order to preserve those apples. What you will do, you will put the fridge 24 by 7. So in this case what happens, your carrying cost, that is the holding cost of those apples, will definitely increase, right? Your electricity bill, fridge bill, if you run the fridge for 24 hours, what will happen? The electricity bill will shoot up. That's how. So the carrying cost will increase. And what happens to the buying cost? Because you bought 10,000 apples at one shot payment, the supplier also is giving you 1,000 rupees discount. You are also very happy about it, right? So that is what. So the buying cost will come down. Okay. Say for example, let's take another case. Okay, let's take another case. Let's clear all this. So let's take another case. There's another case where what you do is, you are having, okay, let's take apple. It's an apple is very comfortable, right? You're having apples. Okay, there are apples, and this particular apple, what happens is that you are buying only like you're buying for a month, you need like okay, for a week you need like 10 apples. Okay, 10 apples only you're buying. 10 apples and you're keeping in the fridge. Okay, 10 apples only you're buying. So in this case, tell me, your carrying cost will be low or will it be high? That is fridge electricity bill. For storing these 10 apples, you will not put the fridge 24 by 7, right? Maybe you will put it for some time because the consumption will take place simultaneously. Carrying cost will not be that much, right? As much as you're storing 10,000 apples, right? So it will be low. Your carrying cost will be low. Your holding cost will be low. But on the other side, your buying cost, you are buying only 10 apples. You're going to a shop like Palarmudi Sole, you're going. You're buying 10 apples. Your other customer, he is buying 16,000 apples. Supplier, what he'll do? Big customer, he'll attend to him more, right? He'll give him more discount. You will not get much of discount and all. You will have to pay 10 apples per apple, 10 rupees or 50 rupees, whatever. You will pay the actual amount, no discount, nothing. So in this case, what happens? Your buying cost will be more, or it will be the same. It can be the same or it will be more, but comparatively it will be more, right? You don't have any discount, so because of that your buying cost will be more, your carrying cost will come down. Are you able to visualize it? Easy, right? So that is how the concept is designed. So there is no point, there is no point, like there is no meeting point. So what only I should do, ma'am? If I buy more means I'm losing on something or the other. The cost of ordering, the cost of the ordering cost and the carrying cost are not even meeting. The ordering cost, the ordering cost and the carrying cost are not even meeting. Either this is going up or this is coming down. What to do? So that is why they formulated a point. They formulated a point which is called as EOQ. Understood? So if you order at the EOQ quantity, economic ordering quantity, if you order at this quantity, definitely it is assured that your ordering cost will be equal to your carrying cost. With this intention only, they brought about the economic ordering quantity concept. Okay, very clear? Yes. So let's look at it. um yeah, so first is, what are the elements in your EOQ? You have your ordering cost or buying cost, then you have the carrying cost or holding cost, then you have the purchase price you have, right? So the amount you give and buy. And then what is the formula? So what is the formula of EOQ? Root of 2ab by c. Okay, so what is A indicate? A indicates annual requirement for raw material in quantity. In quantity, very very important. In, let's take this. Okay, in quantity. Okay, in quantity, that you should remember. Then in the case of buying cost or ordering cost. What is buying cost or ordering cost, right? You have to take buying cost or your ordering cost per order. I've not mentioned it here, sorry. It should be for per order, per order. Okay, so per order. Okay, buying cost or ordering cost per order only you should take. Okay, then in the case of carrying cost or holding cost, you should take it per unit per annum. Per unit per annum. So tell me guys, what is EOQ formula? Root of 2ab by c. So what is A? A stands for annual requirement of raw material in quantity. In quantity. Then after that, B stands for buying cost or your ordering cost per order. One order, how much? That is it. Then C is what? Carrying cost. Carrying cost or holding cost. Fridge. I told no fridge. Carrying cost or holding cost. So per unit per annum. Per apple per annum, 10,000 apples, remember that. So per unit per annum you should take, and for ordering cost or buying cost you should take it per order basis. Okay, clear about this? Let's move ahead. Okay, so EOQ concept is clear, right? So you have different things like ordering cost, carrying cost. So ordering cost and carrying cost will be the same or will be equal at the EOQ. At EOQ, ordering cost and carrying cost will be equal. Hope you understood all the examples that we saw. The next one is material losses. So of course it is human tendency, right? It is human tendency. Say for example, your mom is asking you to bring some milk or some rice from the bin. Obviously, if you from here till 2 kilometers kitchen is there. From here to there, if you walk, it's a how much of spillage, how much of spoilage, what all we do. So in the case of manufacturing units, how much of spoilage or how much of wastage they'll be prone to, isn't it guys? So that is all accounted in material costing. So 100% input means 100% output and all cannot be produced in reality. So there will be here and there some wastages and all of that. So that is also covered in material costing. So we'll see what are the concepts. One second. Okay, there are two different types of losses in material. So first you have the normal losses and then you have the abnormal losses. So normal losses are like happens in the normal course of business, like from here to there till the kitchen you walk. uh, just because you're walking it might spill here and there, so that is a normal thing, you can't avoid it. Likewise, so abnormal losses, wantedly you are dancing and going, and it could be avoided. Okay, it could be avoided. Okay, if those things, those conditions arises, then in such a case it is abnormal losses. Okay, it could have been avoided, it could have been avoided. That is the thing, idea. So what is the treatment for normal losses? How you have to give treatment for normal losses? See, in the case of normal losses, you have to categorize it as cost only. Okay, you have to add it to the cost of production only. Okay, you don't have to do anything with it. Just like treat it like a normal cost. But in the case of abnormal loss, what you have to do, you have to charge it to costing P&L account. There's a separate account which, apart from the financial books you maintain, which is called as a costing P&L account. So in all of these concepts, we'll discuss it in cost accounting systems. Okay. So there is a separate costing book that is maintained, cost accounts that is maintained. In that costing P&L account, you have to account this abnormal loss on the debit side, because it is treated as something that is irrecoverable. You cannot do anything with it. You have to take it to P&L account, charge it to costing P&L. That is how we are required to give treatment. Understood? So there are two different types of losses. You have normal loss, abnormal loss. Normal loss happens in the normal course of business. Abnormal loss could have been avoided. Okay. So what you have to do with normal loss, you have to categorize it as cost. You don't have to do anything with it. Cost, charge it to the cost of production. Whereas in the case of your abnormal loss, what you have to do, you have to charge it to costing P&L account. Take it directly to costing P&L and charges on the debit side. Understood, guys? So this is material costing. Then the next thing that we're discussing is about pricing of material issues. What is pricing of material issues? So let's look at it. So you have the FIFO LIFO method, right? FIFO method, LIFO method. Say for example, yesterday, mm, say in materials also, immediate purchase of material we might use, or sometimes, for example, last month you bought 1 kg of rice. Okay, 1 kg of rice you bought. Okay, this month you have bought like 5 kgs, you have bought like 5 kgs of rice. So what happens is that there are certain cases. So if you are following FIFO method, that is first in first out, that is first you have bought, this month you have bought 5 kgs, that from this 5 kgs only your first consumption will take place. Say for example, your mom is in need of 1 kg of rice. Immediately she will take from the newly bought package of 5 kgs. Okay, from this 5 kgs she will take 1 kg and use. Okay, say for example, say for example, same example we'll take. Same example, 1 kg last month you bought, last month 5 kgs this month you bought, this month, this month you bought. Okay, so what, in the case of LIFO method, what you will do, this 1 kg last month you bought, right? From that only first you will take, last in first out. For 5 kgs package you will not even open, you will keep it, and last, that is last month you bought 1 kg, from that your mom will take and use 1 kg. Okay, so that is how it is dealt with. Okay, FIFO LIFO formats, we'll see it later. Okay, the next miscellaneous topics are all about formats. Okay, I have taken like formats. So see, I've also looked at the different illustrations in the study material, and whatever is apart, like whatever topics I haven't discussed in the following topics that we discussed earlier, I will cover the remaining here. Okay, so this is all most of like format based. Okay, format based. Second. Okay. The first topic that we're seeing here is, one second. Yeah. The first topic that we're seeing here is computation of rate per kg. So if you're looking at rate per kg, you're trying to find out what is the rate per kg. That is, say for example, I told, right, you have bought like 10 kgs of rice this month. 10 kg has come to your house. This month's consumption to fill the bin, 10 kgs of rice you have bought. So you're trying to find out what is the cost per kg. What is a that is a cost per unit. You can also tell it as cost per unit. Okay, so cost per unit or cost per kg or rate per kg is what we're trying to find out. Okay, so in order to find out the cost or rate per kg, this is the format that you have to follow. Okay, so this is the format that you have to follow. First is purchase price. So whatever price at which you purchased it, okay, the price at which you have purchased it, just a second, the price at which you have purchased it, first take that. Then after that, any discounts that you get. So in this particular case, I wanted to note one thing. You can take trade discounts. You have to take trade discounts and you can subtract it. Trade discounts you can subtract. Okay, trade discounts is allowed, but in the case of cash discounts, it is not allowed. Cash discounts, it is not allowed. If in case in the question they have given trade discounts and all, you can subtract it, but if they have given cash discounts, don't ever subtract it. Okay, so that is how this is designed. uh, Repeat it once, guys. So if in case trade discounts are given, will you subtract it? The answer is yes. If in case cash discounts are given, will you subtract it? The answer is no. You have to not even touch it. You have to ignore it. Then the next thing that we were seeing is about the net purchase price. So what do you mean by net? So after subtracting the discounts, you will get the net purchase price, right? So from the net purchase price, you have to add certain expenses. Okay, say for example, you're ordering today on Amazon. Just like that, you give money. That is the ultimate money that you pay for the product. No, it has to pass through different types of procedures, right? It has to get itself released from the customs after paying customs duty, then freight charges for the purpose of convenience, all of that. Then you have to pack the product. All of these are ancillary expenses, and all of these ancillary expenses are required to form part of the cost of that product. Okay, so take an example of Amazon and just visualize it. So when you get the net purchase price, along with that you have to add the customs duty. Customs duty is value based. Okay, say for example, the ultimate value of the product, right? This much of quantity, say for example 5 kgs, 5 kgs into 2 rupees. Okay, 5 kgs into 2 rupees. Then you have another material which you are using, 10 kgs into 1 rupee you take for easy calculation. So this is material A, this is material B. You take, say here you will have 10 rupees, here you will have 10 rupees. So what base is, so customs duty they'll give as full value in the question. So say for example it is 5,000 rupees. Okay, so this 5,000 you will split it in the ratio of 10 rupees is to 10 rupees. That is based on value. You will split this amount and you will charge it to the respective material cost. Okay, when you see the examples or illustrations, you will understand it much better. Okay, so when you're looking at the freight charges or the railway charges, okay, railway or freight charges, whatever it is, this particular expense will be apportioned in quantity. On the basis of quantity, you will take the quantity ratio and apportion it. That is, you will take 5 is to 10 10, and you will say for example your freight is 2000 rupees. Okay, this 2000 rupees you will apportion it in 5 is to 10 ratio. This 5000 rupees of customs duty, you will apportion it based on 10 is to 10 ratio. Freight you will apportion it based on quantity, that is 5 is to 10 ratio. Understood? So that is how it is done. Okay, then the next one is packing charges. Whatever packing charges, usually for respective materials, it has already been given. It will be given in the question itself. Okay, then GST on which ITC is not availed. Okay, so input tax credit you would have studied in GST. So input tax credit is nothing but, say for example, you are building a house. Okay, you're building a house. And this particular, in order to build this house, as I initially told you, you need bricks, you need cement, isn't it? You need cements, you need iron rods, as I told you, right? So for all of these particular materials, inputs that is used in construction of this house, when you're purchasing it from some other supplier, when you're purchasing it from, say for example, Mr. A, or you're purchasing it from India Cements, you take India Cements, you're purchasing it from India Cements, okay? You're purchasing from India Cements, which is one of the most leading brands, right? So when you're purchasing from India Cements, you would have paid tax that time itself. That is, on that cement, you would have paid GST, right? You would have already paid GST, isn't it? You would have already paid GST at the time of purchase of the raw material. And after, irrespectively for other materials also, you would have paid GST to the supplier. After that, what happens? This house is constructed. This house is constructed. On this house, you are required to say, for example, on this GST you pay 10 rupees. For convenience purpose, I took 10 rupees. 10 rupees GST have already paid on cement at the time of purchasing it. After that, the house is constructed. On this house, the GST is 5,000 rupees. Oh, okay, 500 rupees. Okay, 500 rupees. The income tax, like GST department, is asking you to pay. So in this case, what happens is, input tax credit is whatever tax you have paid on your inputs can be set off against the tax that you're going to pay right now on the ultimate output. Okay, so this 10 rupees that you already paid, you can tell the authorities that, see sir, when I purchased a cement for this house, that time itself to India Cements, I paid 10 rupees as GST, so I need not pay 10 rupees again as GST on the ultimate house, and only 490 rupees you'll be required to pay. Okay, so this is the concept of ITC. So if in case GST on which ITC has not been availed, so in this what they're trying to say is, if in case there is GST, and on this GST that you have paid, input tax credit is not availed, you cannot avail input tax credit, or you have not availed input tax credit, only that GST portion you can charge it, or you can add it to the cost of the product. Okay, it will be, see, what is the point if you are getting an input tax? Say for example, you should pay 10 rupees, you have an input tax credit of 10 rupees, you set it off, zero only will be your liability, right? You don't have to pay any expense, there is no outflow of cash from your pocket. So that is why they don't take GST on which input is availed, they take only GST on which input is not availed. Okay, so that is very very important. Then after adding all of this, you will get the total cost. Okay, then they will give you in the question effective quantity. Say for example, how they calculate this is, I'll give you an example. mm, Say the total cost, say the total cost is 5000, the total cost is 5000 rupees. Okay, and you have a quantity, that is number of units, number of bricks you used. Say for example, you use 1000 bricks. Okay, units of bricks you have used. So how do you find out the cost per unit? 5000 divided by 1000 units. So for per brick, one brick, how much is the cost, is what you're trying to say, or trying to find out. Okay, so that is what they refer by cost per unit. Okay, clear? That's it. Okay, very simple computation of rate per kg. So this is the format that you have to follow. Two things I told you here: cash discount, don't take it, and GST on which input tax credit is availed, don't take it. Okay, very simple. Then the next one that we'll be seeing is about the EOQ's total savings. Okay, this is a similar, this is actually an EOQ related concept. What we do here is, like I already told you, they will ask you to find out what is the total savings in EOQ. Just because EOQ quantity you're ordering, what is the savings that you will get? That they'll ask you to find in certain questions. Okay, certain questions. So this is the format in which you have to do. Okay, just take it down, I'll also explain it to you. Okay, say for example, there are different options. Say for example, you they'll given the question a certain quantity. Okay, say 2000 units. Okay, 2000 units, 2000 units. Okay, 2000 units is the quantity that is given in the question. EOQ, after calculating that EOQ with the help of the formula, you're getting 1000 units. Okay, so you have to do a comparison. If in case you're ordering 2000 units, what is the total cost? If in case you are ordering EOQ quantity, what is the total cost? Compare both, and you have to find out whether there is savings or whether there is over expenditure, like that, which is better. Likewise, obviously EOQ only will be beneficial to us. Okay, so that is how you have to do. So all of these annual requirement order will be given in the question. So first you have to find out the number of orders, how many orders. Why you have to find out the number of orders? Because ordering cost is based on per order basis, right? Ordering cost is based on per order basis, right? So this data will be useful here. So cost per order will be already given in the question. Number of orders are annual requirement divided by order quantity. So annual requirement, say for example 16,000 units, you will divide it by 2,000, right? Then see 16,000 here also 16,000 divided by 1,000. So you will find out the number of orders. Then order size is same as this. Just take it here. Order size, this column. So first is option, number of orders, then order size. What is the size of the order? Then after which what we do, just a second guys. Yeah, you're able to see. Okay. So then what happens? Ordering cost. Ordering cost is, as we already found, right? Number of orders into cost per order, which is already given in the question. Likewise, you will compute. Then carrying cost. Carrying cost is what? Then you have to take, see here, one important thing that you should remember is average inventory is what you have to take. Okay, average inventory is nothing but here, like one second. Like here you guys have, right? Here we found, right? Uh, See here. Here one order size is given, right? Order size by 2 you have to do. Whatever is order size, you have to do, you have to divide it by 2. You have to take the average inventory only for the purpose of calculating carrying cost. Okay. So that is what they were trying to say here. Okay. So that is what they're saying here. See, average inventory you have to take, that is order size divided by 2, that is average inventory, into carrying cost per unit per annum. Same thing here and down. EOQ also same computation only you have to do. Then after that, purchase price. So last is purchase price. Okay, purchase price is, it will be given in the question itself. So depending upon that you have to take. If in case discount is given, will you take it? Yes. All the discount you will take? No, you will take only, I'm sorry, you will not take only cash discount. Cash discount is given, don't take it, don't subtract it. If in case any other discount is given, take it, subtract it, and put the net purchase price. Okay, and that is what they're trying to say. So the total cost will be an addition of ordering cost, carrying cost, plus the purchase price. So you will add, say for example, here you're getting 12,000 rupees. After all the computation, you're getting 12,000 rupees. Here you're getting you're getting only uh let's take 9,000. 3,000 rupees will be your savings, right? 3,000 will be your total savings by way of EOQ. Just because you are ordering EOQ quantity, you are saving 3,000 rupees. Okay, if you're ordering, say if you're ordering as per the quantity that is given in the question, you will have to shell out 12,000 rupees. But if you're ordering EOQ quantity, only 9,000 rupees will be your cost, and 3,000 rupees you can save. So like this, one tabular column you should put and you should compute it. So this is just a format related, also a concept related important question which can be asked in the exam. So this is the basic underlying concepts. So hope you have definitely got an idea of all the concepts we've discussed in material costing. So hope this was useful for all of you. So let's just revise it once, or like a quick summary. So what did we see? We saw the first concept as stock levels. So in stock levels, we had different stock levels. First, we had the minimum level. One second, guys. Okay, so first we had the minimum level, then we had the average level, then we had the maximum level, danger level, optimum stock level. This is optional. Then after that, reorder level. Okay, so when you're looking at all of these, I asked you to visualize one thing, that is a bin. So remember, minimum level, minimum, just minimum. I'll draw the bin again. So minimum, so this is the minimum. Okay, this is the minimum. What is average level? Just above average, on an average, this much only in my house they'll maintain. Likewise, maximum level is the maximum capacity of this bin. Then danger level is bare minimum, barest minimum that you're having. So barest minimum in the sense, if this quantity is not there, the bin itself will be empty. That is the danger level. Then you have the reorder level. If my quantity reaches this level, what happens is immediately alarm I will go in for placing an order. Okay, that is the reorder level. Okay, reorder level. So these are the different things we discussed conceptually. Then we went about saying the formulae. So first is minimum level. What is the minimum level formulae? Reorder level minus maximum average consumption into average lead time. So minimum, just above that average is there, so remember that. So reorder level minus average consumption into average lead time, minimum average, remember like that. Okay, then what happens, average level. So what is average level, guys? Two different types of formulas there. First is maximum level plus minimum level divided by 2. The second formula that you have is reorder quantity by 2 plus minimum level. Okay, these are the two different types of formula we saw. Then the next thing we saw is maximum level. So what is maximum level formula, guys? Maximum level formula is equal to reorder level plus reorder quantity minus minimum consumption into minimum lead time. Okay, minimum consumption into minimum lead time, maximum minimum, remember like that. Okay, then after that what we saw, danger level. Danger level, you danger, if this quantity is not there, my bin itself is empty. Okay, so if this is the case, what happens, there are two different types of formula. First is average consumption into lead time for emergency purchase. Average consumption into lead time for emergency purchase. Okay, then after that, minimum consumption into minimum lead time. What is minimum consumption into minimum lead time? Then after that, what happens? The optimum stock level. So optimum stock level, there is an illustration that we'll see. This is usually predominantly used in tire manufacturers. Likewise, okay, if there is a stock out situation, what happens? That type of a question, which we'll see it in the later part. Reorder level is nothing but maximum consumption into maximum lead time. Understood? Maximum consumption into maximum lead time. So this is the basic underlying concept. Hope you are able to visualize and able to recollect the concepts. Okay. The next thing that we're going to be seeing is the ratio analysis. Two different ratio analysis. In under ratio analysis, we have two different concepts. First is inventory turnover ratio, and then we have the number of days the average inventory can be held. Right. So first is inventory turnover ratio. What happens in inventory turnover ratio? There is a formula. That is, I told, right, 5 cement bags you have, out of that 3 you consumed. So first is the cost of those 3 will come up, cost of raw material, cost of raw materials consumed, right, divided by average stock of raw material. Okay, average stock of raw material, that is a formula, remember. Yeah. And then next one is number of days average inventory can be held. These many days only your average inventory itself can be held on an average. I told, right, that bin concept. In that bin, average, on an average, this much only in my house they'll have. Likewise, so this average inventory, how many days I can hold it for? Okay, out of 365 days, how many days I can hold it for? So that, what is the formula? 365 divided by inventory turnover ratio. Okay, so this is always in times. Then the next concept, one second. The next concept is ABC analysis. I told, right, diamond, orange, that concept. Okay, so high means high in value, low in quantity. Medium means equal. Quantity and value will be more or less the equal stands only. Then the next one is low, very very low. Low in the sense, oranges, one orange you won't buy. You will buy 10 to 20 oranges. So quantity will be more, value will be less. That is what is ABC analysis. Then after that you have the EOQ. EOQ is also known as reorder quantity. So what is the formula? You have what is the important thing I mentioned in EOQ? Very good. Ordering quantity and your ordering cost and your carrying cost will be equal, isn't it? Ordering cost and carrying cost will be equal, right? This is the important point I mentioned. So in EOQ, what is the formula? Root of 2AB by C. So what is A, guys? Annual requirement for raw material in quantity. B stands for buying cost or your ordering cost, right? Then C stands for carrying cost or holding cost. Okay, tell me, guys, buying cost, is it per order or per unit per annum? Very good, per order. Buying cost per order. Okay, C stands for carrying cost per unit per annum. Okay, per unit per annum. That is how it is designed. Then after that, what happens, guys? So you remember all of those fridge, all those examples I gave you, apples. Okay, EOQ is all about that. Then the next one is material losses. There are two different types of losses. First is you have the normal loss, then you have the abnormal loss. Normal loss is what, guys? Normal loss is something that can be, that cannot be avoided at all. Okay, that cannot be avoided. Okay, so it is in the normal course of business only that happens. So what you have to do with that, you have to charge it to cost of production. Okay, you don't have to do anything, just charge it to, categorize it as cost and charge it to cost of production. What happens to abnormal loss? Abnormal loss is something that could have been avoided. Okay, that could have been avoided. So if this is the case, what you have to do, you have to charge it to costing P&L account. Okay, so this is how this concept is designed. Then after that, what is there, guys? Then pricing of material. Pricing of material, two different methods we saw, right? FIFO, LIFO. I told, right, 1 kg, 5 kg. Last month your dad bought 1 kg. This month your dad bought 5 kgs. That last month 1 kg itself your mom didn't use. So how you go first in first out is, whatever first you bought, first you will take that from that 5 kg packet, you will open and take, right? If in case LIFO means last month itself one leftover is then at 1 kg, from that first you will use and then only you'll come to the new package. Okay, so FIFO LIFO method and concept is like that. And the next one is miscellaneous concepts. This is more of a format oriented concept. The first thing that we saw here is what, guys? Computation of rate per kg. I told, right, per unit how much, cost per unit how you will find out. So purchase price minus a discount. Discount means all discount you'll minus, no, only you can minus, but one except one discount. What is that discount? Cash discount. Cash discount allowed you should avoid. Okay, and if cash discount is given in the question, what you'll do, you'll subtract. No, you should not subtract. Okay, so that is the thing. Then next is you will get the net purchase price. Then after that, what happens? You will get the you will have other related expense also, like you will have packaging, you have customs duty, you have the taxes and all of that. Okay, guys, tell me, GST, if input tax credit is availed, will you add it? Input tax credit is availed, will you add it? No. Only if input tax credit is not availed, it will become an expense, and that is when I will add it. Okay. So that is how it is. So basic customs duty, freight. So basic customs duty is based on value, ultimate value. You will apportion it. Uh, Whereas in the case of railway freight, what you will do, guys, you will take it on the basis of the quantity. Okay, then you have the packaging charges, GST on ITC is not availed, all of those. Then after that, what happens, guys? You will get the total cost from that effective quantity, whatever quantity is given, 5 bags, 10 bags, 20 bags, whatever it is, you will divide it and you'll find the cost per unit or rate per kg. Okay, so this is how it is designed. Then the next one that we are seeing is EOQ, that is total savings by EOQ. Okay, so total savings by EOQ, in the sense, this is a very important question that is mostly tested in exams. So first is there will be two different types of there will be an option that is given in the question itself. The question will say like this: if in case you purchase 3000 kgs, and you will also be required to compute the EOQ. Okay, so you have to compare this 3000 with the EOQ that you have computed, and you will find out the savings. Okay, so for that, what is the format options? Number of orders you have to find, order size, then ordering cost, carrying cost, purchase price. So what is the total cost? Total cost consists of purchase price plus associated cost. These two are called as associated cost. Okay, so all of these three together is the total cost. Okay, so this is just a format. Okay, so this will be given in the question itself. One second, I'll take the pen. Okay, so order made will be given in the question. EOQ is what you will find out. Number of orders, what you will do, you will take the annual requirement and divide it by order quantity. Annual requirement by order EOQ, right? That is how you will do. Order size, what you will do, given in the question, given in the question. Take this right from here, take this right from here. Okay, then after that, what is ordering cost? Ordering cost is this data you computed, right? Number of orders. So buying cost is per order, right? Per order only you should take. So number of orders into cost per order. Okay, then after that, you will find out the carrying cost is also known as holding cost. So you will take it, you will take per unit per annum basis you will take, right? So after that, what happens? Average inventory you have to take. This is there, right? This option is there, right? By 2 if you take, that is your average inventory into carrying cost per unit per annum, you will find out. Then after that, what happens? Purchase price will be there. Then total cost is nothing but, what is your total cost, guys? Okay, the total cost is nothing but A plus B plus C, that is ordering cost plus carrying cost plus purchase price, right? So this is your total cost. Okay, Hope you found it helpful. So we have comprehensively covered, like, just a second, guys. I think that we have comprehensively covered all the concepts of material costing. To like concept part is very very clear, I think. So if you are not clear in any of the concepts, please get back, pause the video and watch it again. Any doubts you have, you can put it down in the comment section. And don't forget to, if you like the video, please like it, share, and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss out on any further videos that we'll be posting. Thank you for watching.